Hi, everybody. Hello. You won't believe it. It's me, Suzy Welch. Hi, welcome to Becoming You. I'm unspeakably happy you're here with us this week. If it's your first time, mwah, love you. And if you're back, I love you too. We have here I go again. I'm about to tell you it's the greatest show ever. But it's really, you know what we talk about in Becoming You a lot? We talk, obviously, about values, aptitudes, and interests. We talk about finding your purpose and what to do with your life. But we talk a lot about relationships. We talk a lot about love. We talk a lot about marriage because why? I'm always telling stories about my successful relationships and my unsuccessful relationships. And today we're going to talk about love on Becoming You. This is the love, relationship, dating, marriage episode of Becoming You. And the reason why is that we have an incredibly special guest, a person who's a huge expert in those areas. And you probably know her already. So I'm not even going to introduce her for that reason. No, I am, of course, going to introduce her. Hi, Lindsey. I'm so happy you're here. Many of you may already know Lindsey, and she has her own podcast, which is called We Met at Acme. It's about love and dating, isn't it? How did it even start?
It started, first of all, thank you for having me. It
Thrilled.
started in 2017, which is almost a decade ago, which is nuts.
Crazy.
Nuts. And I was dumped on my 27th birthday, going into my Saturn return, if we have any woo-woo listeners.
Yeah, we think we have a few.
And I, had thought about podcasting. I had been on a friend's podcast before, and I was like, there are no dating podcasts about dating in New York City and how awful it is.
The pits.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And I needed one. And so I created what I really needed. I was speaking to friends about their dating experiences. I was kind of doing a dating diary for myself as well. And it has since expanded to interviewing amazing, therapists, dating coaches, celebrities, influencers, and just hearing about everyone's dating lives. And I've learned so much.
Yeah. Why were you dumped on your 27th? What was his reason?
He thought that we were on the same page. He was like, oh, you thought that we were going to be long lasting? And I was like, wait, what? Especially because I was the person in my friend group that everyone went to for dating advice.
Right.
So it was, I don't want to say blindsided because I hate when people say that because, hindsight's 2020. Like you realize everything later.
Yeah.
But I was maybe just a little bit delusional.
You thought it was forever.
Not that it was forever, but, I'm a Libra like yourself, and, like, I love love.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be with someone if I couldn't at least envision.
Yeah.
But there were definitely red flags.
And he was like, this is a fun, casual dating situation.
I don't think that he always thought that. He brought me home to his family to meet his parents, yada, yada. It just wasn't a match. But in his defense, I was also a completely different person, not in a great place. This was before I got sober, which is a whole other, level. So it wasn't going to work. But I think
Aren't you so glad that you didn't stay together?
I mean, I'm so grateful to him for ending it when I couldn't see that it needed to be ended.
And now you're happily married with a baby and another on the way. So we're going to get to all of this and your vast wealth of knowledge. I mean, you've heard, does anything surprise you anymore when it comes to love and dating these days?
Really nothing. I've heard disgusting stories. I've heard amazing stories.
Do you still believe in love?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
More than anyone.
All right. Well, the reason why we're thinking a lot about love around here and need to get your opinion is that we have this Test the Values Bridge, which you have taken. And the Values Bridge recently, after having 15 values in its inception, and it's based on my PhD research, blah, 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 we had to add a 16th value because we were not capturing the value of romantic love, of partnered love well enough through family centrism and through belonging, which were the two other values related to love, belonging being the love of friends. So we added this value of belovedness, and now, because 70,000 people have taken the Values Bridge, we have enough data to take a real close, very close look at the value of belovedness and to really have some amazing new learnings about how people think about love and relationships and the difference between the genders, which are real. Before we dive deeply into those, let me just take a pause and say who we are and what we're doing here. Just again, this is Becoming You. This is a podcast where we ask the question, what should I do with my life? I'm a professor of management practice at NYU Stern School of Business and the director of the initiative Purpose and Flourishing. The Becoming You methodology excavates 3 different data sets, your values, your aptitudes, and your economically viable interests to help you know yourself better, paint a self-portrait of yourself, which really is where it all begins, with love, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm forcing you to agree with me by staring at you in that meaningful way. And we always look, we love to look at our data on the values bridge because not everybody feels the same way about values. And we have discovered that the value of belovedness, which we all go into with assumptions, like there are assumptions in our culture and in society, women feel this way about love and men feel that way about love. And I bet in your work and in talking to people about dating, well, before I even sort of talk to you about the data, what do you hold to be true about love and dating in 2025?
I think that the bottom line is still the same, which is that people do want to be loved and most people want to start a family, and they still see that as the, end goal.
Yes. I have to quote Taylor Swift here. Have you heard her new album?
Of course.
Of course. I have to say, I listened to it as soon as it came up. And then she's got this song called Eldest Daughter. Mm-hmm. And in it, she says, when we first started dating, I don't know the exact words, when we first started dating, and I told you I didn't believe in marriage.
I was lying.
That was a lie.
Yeah.
And later she says, because I never thought I could get that life I wanted. And I do think it's exactly as you say. And in fact, our research would agree that everybody has a value of belovedness, I think at a different level than we would suspect. And actually, the data would show that everybody wants a little bit more of it.
100%. And
Yeah.
I love that Taylor came out, right, and said that, because that couldn't be more of what I was almost projecting onto her. You know, she kept saying in her last relationship with Joe Alwyn, like, I'm good. Like, I don't need this, you know, I don't need that. And I can relate to that because I would say that in relationships that weren't serving me either. And you kind of try to change your thoughts on what you're accepting.
Yes.
Because that's what you're just getting.
Right.
And you like try to forget that you wanted more.
You make yourself so vulnerable by saying, I really want that thing. I want love. I want a marriage.
Exactly. Right. But at that point, you're just like, well, I should just be happy with what I have. This is good enough. Right. And I'm so happy that she didn't settle. Yeah,
right. And then even to come out and give permission to have this conversation where she said, okay, when I said that before, that was a lie.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women heard that and had some reflection.
Oh, totally. I mean, I have women in my life who have lied to me about it.
Yeah.
And then been like, you know what, I do want it.
Right. Every time I meet a woman who's in a long-term relationship and it's not going in a direction towards marriage, and I say, well, what's going on with that? And they say, I'm not really sure I want to get married. I think to myself, that is a lie.
Yep.
So, but the data would suggest something else. So actually, how about this? How about we go down some of the data that we have gotten from the belovedness value dump that we have received, since so many people have taken the new version of the values bridge, and hear what like an incredible expert on love and dating has to say about it. You're not cynical about love and dating, or are you?
No, I'm not at all. I'm, if anything, delusional.
Okay. Well, at least you know you're delusional, which makes you less delusional.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. So you've taken the values bridge, and thank you for doing that. The values bridge is a test that asks you 100 behavioral questions. It actually forces you to tell the truth, because these are behavioral questions, and it then ends up ranking your deeply held beliefs, motivations, and desires 1 to 16. And sometimes we have all of these values, but we don't always have them all equally, and that's what it shows. Belovedness is the value of wanting to have or wanting to protect a romantic partnership. It's really, how much does romantic love and intimacy matter in your life? It also measures how much you're living it, because you can want it. It can be your number one value, but you can maybe be single and really looking and really maybe even lonely, and you can have a gigantic, what we call authenticity gap. So it measures that. But we were able to look at the results of thousands of people and where belovedness ranks for them, and then cut the data every which way but sideways. And so here are some of the findings. See what you have to say. Okay, I'm just going to read them to you, and I'll read it twice if you need me to, because some of this data is kind of big. All right. Here's one of the findings. Men are 70% more likely than women to rank belovedness in their top 5 values. Say it again. Men are 70% more likely than women to rank belovedness in their top 5 values. Now, we call these top 5 values your core values. And I think that the societal and cultural trope is that women want belovedness. They want a relationship. They want marriage. They want a guy. But what we found was that while both genders want belovedness, men are 70% more likely to want it in their top values than women. Any reaction? What is your reaction?
My first reaction is men need women more than we need men. Like, I don't think that anyone realizes that, but it's very true because we get a lot from our female friendships. We get a lot from our relationships with our moms or whatever it might be. And men get everything from their beloved. And so I think that shows me that exact point that men need us more than we need them, which is hilarious because women are out there being like, oh my God, I can't find a man. And it's like, well, men are dying to find you.
I know it. When I was young, it was sort of during this period of women's lib, and there was a T-shirt. I think Gloria Steinem was the first one who wore it. It said, "Women need a man like a fish needs a bicycle." And I remember thinking, yeah, maybe that's true. It's like, but I think though that the false narrative is that women, maybe because women are just more verbal about it. Women are like, I want to get married, or they tell the lie, like, Taylor Swift was referring to, when I say I don't want it, it's like, but the truth is men, it seems like in silence are the ones who really want the relationship.
It is in silence. And that's why no one thinks it to be true, but it is in silence. And as someone who's worked with male matchmaking clients, I can tell you they want it. They really want it.
Why don't they say it?
They probably don't say it because of everything that they are going to have to unlearn, of all like the masculinity stuff. And it's not cool. Like, it's not
cool.
Yeah, it's not the thing to
it's
be
not
like,
manly
I
to say I
just
really
want to
need a woman.
find
Yeah.
love. I'm just lonely,
You almost never hear a man say I'm lonely.
No.
It feels unmanly, maybe.
Yeah.
Do you think men are lonely?
Definitely. There was like an epidemic of male loneliness. Wasn't Scott Galloway talking about it?
Scott talks about it all the time, and
Yeah.
I think he's right. I mean, I think that he's feeling it, and I think this data, and I think he's not wrong at all. This data really suggests it. I mean, the men are kind of 70% more likely, and I think you're right about women. We do draw energy from other women. We draw it from our sisters, from our moms, and it gives us almost the power and the energy to say, I'm lonely. Whereas men are not drawing that, and then the woman becomes everything to them, which doesn't always make them act like the woman is everything to them. I mean, it's funny, then they get the partnership and they don't necessarily treat it the way they should.
Well, some might, but definitely no one's perfect about it.
No.
And neither are women. Just
Yeah.
owning my own stuff.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think I come from a generation where it was the men who cheated and the women did not. But, statistically, if men are cheating, they're cheating with someone, right? So it should be kind of equal statistically. All right, here's another data point for you to react to. Women, and especially single women, are twice as likely to rank belovedness among their bottom 5 values. So for women, 41% have it in their bottom 5 values. That's how low it is. 1 to 16, we rank the values. 41% have it in their bottom 5 values. That's like saying, well, let's get your opinion about why that would be. I mean, that's a lot of women say, it's just not even a value to me. And it's only 27% for single men. How could you explain this? I have a theory. I want to hear yours.
Well, my theory is that if they rank it higher, they don't feel valuable because they don't have it.
Yeah.
And it's like self-preservation.
Yes.
They have all the other things. They have
Right.
the career. They have the this.
Yeah.
So if they say they don't have the one thing that they really value,
Yeah.
then they're like almost beating themselves up.
Right. If it doesn't matter to you, then you don't have to feel like you're losing.
Yeah. What's your theory?
My theory is that women have given up. that there's a portion of single women, it just got very hard. You date, and then you find out on the third date he's still married, or I mean, this is just the horror stories I hear.
Right.
Or they're baby men, or what's that thing she calls them, man child, but it's a baby man. Like they're F boys. I'm sorry, pardon my French. And you just find out, like they kind of present well. Like my daughter went out on a date with a guy who she met him on Hinge, and by all rights, he looked fantastic. Like everything she knew about him, she could find him on LinkedIn. Wonderful, like great looking career. I kind of knew somebody who knew him, so I kind of triangulated. He was great. And like an hour into the dinner, he said to her, "Do you do mushrooms?" And like wanted to spend the rest of the night doing that. And it was like, okay, like, and where did you grow up? Like just absolutely. And she just like, she texted me like under the table coming home. And I thought, here we go again. How many times have you received texts from friends on promising dates where the text is, getting out of here like an hour into it?
Yeah, it's definitely rough out there for sure. But again, my delusional side is I think that it only takes one really wonderful, special person. And so you're going to have these disaster dates that everyone has a story like this.
Yes. I had a unsuccessful first marriage, although my first husband is a good friend of mine. And then I was single before I met my second husband. And I was so absolutely sure that there was no one for this single mother with 4 young children and a full-time job that I used to say to my kids in that period, I'm married to you now. And it felt like that. And I probably would have been a person who had belovedness down in my bottom 5 at that point. But when I met Jack and we went on to have this splendid, beautiful marriage, I'm sure when he was living that belovedness for me was number 1 or 2, and I think for him also. And I do think a seismic event can change your value around this. But the fact that so many women have it as a peripheral value, I think maybe we're both right in this way. You're sort of saying if you don't admit it, then how can you feel badly about it? How can you feel like yearning around it? And the other, it also is that women maybe had it as a value and then just said, I've had one too many bad dates.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture. I think, I hear women all the time who are single and have been single say things like, why do I have to spend this at someone's wedding? Why is it about their baby shower?
Yeah.
What if I wanted to have a promotion party? What if I wanted to have a housewarming party for me, getting my own place? But society doesn't reward that. And so maybe there's some part of it is rebellion to say, there are other things that are more important. And even though I do want that deep down, I want to show the world that there are other priorities.
Yeah, almost defiance.
Exactly.
Say,
Like I've gotten messages on Instagram being like, I am upset with your podcast because it prioritizes the end goal being love and relationships. And I'm like, it does. Yeah. It does. And I understand if that upsets you and this isn't a place for you to, be following.
Right.
But it's like that kind of feeling that you need to, chastise someone for prioritizing something that isn't on your list at that moment.
Right. And I do also think that there's a group of women who really do prioritize achievement, and this is just a genuine reflection of that. Is like, I don't buy into that. And in fact, one of my daughters, until she met the man she eventually married, said to me, like, I just don't buy into the patriarchy, and you'll never see me wearing a white dress walking down a wedding aisle, smash the patriarchy. And guess what she did last week? She
tried on a white dress.
No, she wore a white wedding dress. All right. So we've cracked the code on that one. Here's another piece of data, and we talked about this earlier. Is everybody wants more belovedness in their life? Okay, so we test 2 things, which is how much you have and how much more you'd like. And in almost every value, some people say I want more of it, and some people say I want less of it. So for an example of that, with Gen Z, they rank achievement quite low. They don't want to have success as a value in their life. This is very generationally well known. They put it at number 11, but 60% say it's at 11. I still wish there was less. Okay, so there's a variance that shows it's even too much. But with belovedness, nobody says they want less. Okay, they may say I want it number 1, or I want it number 7, or I want it number 16, but no one says they want less of it. I mean, in that way, I think I'm kind of encouraged by that. People still want love.
Yeah.
People still need love.
They do, for sure.
It's
And
kinda-
that's upsetting to hear. I hope that the next generation wants to have some achievement.
But everybody, thank goodness. But achievement, yes, you're reacting to the achievement part of
Yeah.
it. Yeah. It's upsetting to everybody but Gen Z, which is basically.
Well, do you think that has to do with the working from home model and all of that?
I think there's so many explanations for it. I mean, I think one of the reasons for it is that they look at their parents who had achievement as a high value, and they are looking at their parents maybe unemployed now or struggling in their jobs or being phased out, and they say, what does it get you to have achievement?
Right.
It doesn't. And I think also another piece of it is that with achievement comes what? Anxiety. And I think
And hopefully money.
yeah, right. But that's a knife's edge. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, I want the money, but I don't like the anxiety. And I think that they go back and forth between saying, I don't like this trade-off.
Right,
Can't I
the
get the money?
anxious generation.
They don't want anxiety. So they do a lot of things to diminish anxiety. Whereas I think when I was coming along, I understood that to get anything you wanted, you were going to have to be anxious. That was just like, we called it like adulting. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's looked at very differently. Mental health is prioritized a lot more with that generation, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm just saying that we were meant to be unwell.
Yeah. Say more, because it's such an interesting line. Go ahead.
No, I mean, we were being told that, 90 pounds was chic. We were being told that therapy means you have major problems and
Right.
need to be avoided.
Yeah.
Anxiety was not even like a buzzy term
No.
that was used.
Right.
It was just like, you need to be doing X, Y, and Z. And if you're not,
Right.
then you're doing something wrong.
Right.
It was when mothering was, it's my way or the highway.
Right.
If you don't like it, get a new mom.
Yeah. Right.
Parenting is different. Everything is different.
I said that line.
So did my
That's all right.
mom.
I used to say you don't get to pick your mom. And they loved it, but we're all good friends now. Okay, so here's an interesting data point that we also got, which is that people with higher income levels, so we cut the data by income, people with higher income do rank belovedness higher. So the more money you make, the more you value an intimate partnered relationship.
That's so interesting.
I don't understand it. Do you?
Kind of. I think you feel like you have that check of that box of, supporting yourself.
Right.
So now you feel like you can give more of yourself to love.
Or if you're making more money and you're a man,
You can provide more.
or you
perhaps.
need more support, the support of a loving relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, I often say I need a wife because I am working so hard and it would be so great. And I think that when Jack was living, he was so grateful to the stuff I did as a wife. There's some stuff that only your partner does for you.
Yeah.
They're your team. They just say the stuff no one else says. They know you on a level of intimacy no one else does. They sort of anticipate things. And I think that perhaps it's related to maybe these people with higher income have more complex jobs, and the desire to have a helpmate is part of it.
I think you're right. I think the more it's like more money, more problems. Like
Yes.
you make more money, you need more support.
That's right.
And that support isn't only, from an assistant.
Right.
It's also
Like-
emotional.
Right, bring on the partner, bring on the husband or wife. All right, we have a funny data point, which is really interesting, which is when it comes, we cut the data by job type. And the people who have the highest, by job, highest desire for belovedness, for a partner, are in finance and sales. And I love this data point. The lowest is for people who are in academia.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. I would say the finance need for love is like you don't have time to go out and do it yourself. Like you don't have time to go out and you just want love to be there when you
Right.
get home.
That's right.
You just want a hug.
Right.
I wonder if the academia is because you get so much love from what you're doing.
No, I'm going to have a different theory.
Yeah, tell
You don't
me.
get any love when you're a professor. With academia, right? What's it filled with? All these high brain intellectuals, and they analyze love, and they look at love from all the different angles. And, love, if you get too up in your brain about it and too
Right.
abstract, maybe it's just they're so smart. They see all the downsides of love. And actually, academics tend to be a little on the pessimistic side because they're deeply intellectual, and so they're not the most cheery people in general. I mean, they're just really smart, kind of scholarly, and they don't tend to have sort of like be oozing optimistic high energy. And sometimes love requires a little bit of suspension of disbelief, and academics don't do that very well.
That is interesting. I mean, obviously you're right because you're coming from...
Because I'm hanging around with them and
Correct.
I love them. I love my academic colleagues. They're the best dinner party in the world is with a bunch of academics because they're so smart. I have to tell you the funniest story. When I was testing the values bridge originally, I mean, think about the early days of creating a psychometric tool. You're testing it on pieces of paper. So I thought, who would be the perfect group of people to test this tool on? My academic colleagues. They all are such big supporters. They're Team Suzy. They knew I was doing my PhD. And so I had over like 7 couples, my colleagues and their partners. And after dinner, everybody's a little bit happy and drunk. And I brought out dessert and I said, will you guys try my test? Will you try my test? And I gave the values bridge on paper. Okay, now it's a souped up digital thing on paper to the couples. And couples were all sitting next to each other. And we were doing it actually on paper, but I guess it was on a digital thing because their scores came out. It was like it was prehistoric the way we were doing it as we were first testing it. And they got their values, and then they also got their authenticity gaps on everything. And like I realized this is just something you never do at a dinner party because couples were getting the results back and they were comparing values. And I was like, oh man, I wouldn't want to be in the car ride home with any of these people. But worse than that, one member of the couple would get a score that showed that they were absolutely living their values to the T. And the other member of the couple was like not living them at all. So they'd have this really bad negative, authenticity score. And I remember there was like this very quiet, sullen moment where one member of this, like one couple, the husband said, well, my gap is like 98%, but her gap is 0%. And then there was like this pause where I thought, I am the stupidest person who's ever lived because it was getting very awkward. And he said, yes, we're definitely living my wife's dream of a life. Ouch. We have the functionality now because I lived throughout at that dinner party and everything. So that if you check the boxes, your values come up alongside your partners and you can compare where the conflicts and harmonies are. And I'm glad they're having those conversations. I had my daughter and her now husband took the test together and they said, hey mom, come interpret our results for us. And we just took the values bridge. And as I was walking towards them, I was like, please God, let them have the same values. And as I was walking toward them, my daughter said, is it weird for 2 people to have the exact same top 6 values? And I was like, thank you, God, right? So do you think that relationships work better when the 2 people have the same values?
Yeah, that's the only thing that matters, really. I mean, a lot matters, but your values are, I would argue, number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you and your husband have the same values?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would say he, shockingly, because, he's a man and I'm a woman, he's more like family values than I am even.
Yeah.
And I am, of course, but in an ideal world, he would be a stay-at-home dad.
I think it happens all the time.
And I would never.
Right. That's right. But I bet your values are very similar. You would know it if they weren't. I think
Yes.
it is. I think there's this lie about opposites attracting.
Oh my God, I always say this.
Yeah?
It's the biggest lie. There's actually a different quote, and it's opposites attract, then attack.
Yeah. Well, that's true. And I don't get it. I think that opposites attract is what you say when you're with the wrong person and you have totally different values and you want to explain it to the world. You go like, yeah, opposites attract, But it's like, no. And I've seen couples where every bomb in the world could have dropped on their head, like infidelity, a child going off the rails, like everything that would break up a marriage, and they've stayed together because they've had the same values, especially this value of eudaimonia that we talked about, self-care, which also includes fun. I know a couple that's been to hell and back, but they both really like sex and fun. And that, I've asked the wife one time, how did you possibly stay together? And she said, the sex is great. And that actually, like, they both really care about it, and it's carried them through. But
that's shocking for me to hear.
It was shocking to everybody who knew them.
Right.
Because he, like, had a big public affair and everyone knew about it. But they also had a really high value of family centrism. They had 4 children, and they both put those children before almost anything else. And they stayed together for the children. They're still together.
Wow.
But, that's the kind of couple that if in 2 or 3 years we heard they were getting divorced, everybody would say what took so long.
Yeah, I don't see sex as enough of a value to keep
but
a
I think
couple
they also
together.
have family centrism going on.
Yes, you need more than that for sure.
Yeah. But it can be. It can. When you look at this values data, you kind of see it all.
What do you think is the least important value? Or
For
what does the data
couples,
say?
I'll tell you one more important value. There's a value called agency, which is how much you must make the decisions. How much you have to drive, like I'm the boss of me. And I think it's very helpful when one person has high and the other person has low, or you both have medium. But I think two high agency people together is quite.
Mine was so high when I took the test. I mean, I was like
Yeah.
777.
Yeah. I think that you had high agency. And then where do you think your husband would be?
He's like whatever my wife says.
Okay. All right. So that's your high agency and he's lower. And I think that's a good recipe for it. They all matter. You know what else really matters? Beholderism. Beholderism is the value about how much you care about how things look, like including yourself. And if you've got one member of the couple who really cares about how the house looks and how they look, and they want to spend on the weekend, they want to go shopping for the perfect couch, and then they want to go to the gym, and the other is like, why do you care about that stuff? That can really cause friction. And then they end up calling each other names. Like the person with high beholderism calls the other person lazy and slovenly, and the other person calls the person with high beholderism, they call them like, superficial and narcissistic. Whereas in fact, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's true, but what they really have is a very different value around beholderism. I think another value that really they all matter, is affluence. Unless you both have sort of a medium desire for wealth, like, okay, you can kind of agree, we both want enough to get by plus 2 vacations a year. If you've got somebody who's really got driving value of affluence, and the other is like, I don't care about money, how much you want money affects every single decision
It's the biggest
you make.
Yeah.
I mean, you must see so many couples who have problems around this.
Oh, so many. But I would say for the most part, people are aligned. I would say the relationships where people are less aligned is the woman wants the man to make more money.
Right.
And he is happy.
Right.
I rarely see the man wanting the woman to make more money. But I also have very driven friends who are very ambitious, my girlfriends.
Right.
And so maybe that's why. It's funny, last night I was we were getting ready for bed, my husband and I, and he was like, you like me a lot, like, and imagine, like, that sounds like he was saying like I'll just finish it. And then
Yes.
he was like, you like me now. Can you imagine if I made, because he's in a startup right now.
Yeah.
He's like, can you imagine if I made money? He's like, how cool would that be? Like, you would like me even more. And I was like, I honestly, that sounds amazing. That sounds incredible.
I think that you're so right, though, that the problem happens when one member of the couple wants the other person to make money to meet their value. Like, you can't shove your value about affluence into somebody else. If they don't want to make money and money's not important, you can't say, like, make it. I mean, you could do it, but it's a recipe for complete disaster.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think another one of the values that really causes problems is cosmos. This is the value that reflects how much you believe in religion and God, your faith. And if you've got a really faithful person with a person without faith, that's tough.
Yeah, that's my sister and her husband, actually. He is very faithful. Or is that the word?
Yeah, or religious.
Yeah, he's more religious than she is.
He's religious and faithful, yeah.
And she had to like meet him at that level, whereas my husband and I are very reform with kind of all of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. Definitely took a lot of work on her part.
What if she didn't believe?
She believes in him.
Yeah,
like
that's
he's
how it
her
happens.
religion.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. When I met Jack, he was not faithful. I'm a faithful person. And when I met Jack, he wasn't faithful. And our pastor said, we don't typically marry somebody who's not faithful. And he said, what she's got, I want. He wanted it. And he got on a road to get it. Like he was like, Suzy, what those feelings you have, I don't have them now. He was culturally Catholic. But he wanted to know what I knew. And he was determined to get it because he liked going to church. He just didn't understand what was being said. Like he was like, wait, Joseph's not a saint. And I was like, oh God, let's just start at square one here, and just, he wanted to know more. We were lucky in that way. But if you've got, that can totally take apart a marriage. Typically it shows up before the actual marriage.
Oh yeah. Well, especially when you're planning a wedding.
Right.
And you have to decide if it's a religious ceremony or not.
Yeah.
And if it is, who's marrying you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to meet with that, priest or rabbi, whoever it might be.
Yeah. You know, the one that kills it before you get to the altar is family centrism.
Oh, yes.
Because typically couples that are engaged talk about how much they want a family. And unless somebody is lying, you straighten that out. And I've seen it break up couples in that somebody wants a big family, they want the life centered on the family, or one member of the couple is bringing a big family to the picture, okay? And it's going to be all about the family. And I think that with my daughter who just got married, her now husband comes from a small family, and at first he was like, wait, why do we go to your family's house for every holiday? Like, he just didn't understand how important family centrism was to her. And then we hypnotized him. He got it, and he came to be friends with all of us. And at the wedding, he gave a toast where he said, I fell in love with Eve, and I didn't really care if she had a family or not. But then I got this family, and now they're my family. And this was a case of a person who had zero family centrism, discovering what it felt like and actually buying into her family centrism.
Yeah.
And now the kids accuse me of him being my favorite, and he kind of is.
I love that. I love that. I just did an episode where I talked about the difference between a boyfriend and a husband.
Ooh.
And your boyfriend complains about going to family events and sometimes tries to get out of them.
Yes.
But your husband complains about them and goes to each one.
He has to.
No matter what.
It's such a great point. It's not negotiable because you can't have a family event and the husband does not come.
Correct. But that's almost, I'm saying, like, they're modeling that behavior before they're your husband.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah. You do not want that. That's so painful. And in fact, a partner that wants to take you away from your family of origin is a red flag to me. Huge red flag.
But how do you feel about two people who are family centric and have big families coming to the table?
Yeah.
What do you do in that situation?
The families better like each other. Mm-hmm. Like, I so adore my daughter-in-law's family. I just do. I love her mother. We have a separate relationship from her. I think that that's really good. But if you've got families that are competitive with each other, which happens, it's dangerous. And it causes, the collateral damage is the kids. Kids can pick up on it so when they're really little. Like, one thing I make a point of doing when I'm with my granddaughter is talking about how much I love her other grandmother, who she calls Nanny. I say to her, Nanny's one of my favorite people. I love your Nanny. Because I don't want her to ever feel as if there's any competition between the families. That her two nannies, who she loves so much, love each other. I think it's a great gift you can give your kids.
That's really smart.
That did not happen in my family. And maybe I'm, once again, trying to rewrite the script, which is what we all do all day long. So I think that you make me think about how every single one of the values shows up in a relationship so much. I honestly think by accident I developed a dating app, because if you think about it, if you just sat there like on the second date and went down the values or took the values bridge, what you would find out, I mean, you'd probably that guy would have never broken up with you on 27th birthday because you would have kicked him to the curb long before.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
No, it would be an amazing second date situation for sure.
I'm going to try it as an experiment because my daughter is still dating and tell her to bring it to it. And if the guy runs, or the girl runs, when you start talking about values, red flag, correct?
100%. Yeah.
I think it's hard to talk about values because you know why? People don't know what values are. They think there's two values. They think values are family and financial security, or they think values are virtues. But everybody agrees on virtues, like kindness. Yeah, who's going to say no? I mean, but when we talk about things like money and family centrism and how much you care about how stuff looks, I almost think you do need a checklist. I mean, I love Zonar Garg so much, the comedian, because like when she placed that ad, I mean, now it's a famous story about how she placed an ad when she was looking for a husband, and she was like very specific. I want to see your tax returns. You have to be ambitious as I am. I mean, she was very specific, and I think that in our heads, we know our values and what we're looking for, and then the whole dating experience is one long compromise. Like, okay, I'll compromise on this, I'll compromise on that, and you finally either it breaks up, or you think, okay, this is where I draw the line in the sand. He has to love my family, or he has to stop ghosting me every 2 weeks, or whatever it is, and you finally get pushed to the edge. But sometimes you don't, and you end up in a marriage that is just one long series of you ceding your values to another person.
Yeah, but that is a great example of why you need to have the tough conversations before it gets serious.
How many people have the tough conversations before?
Not enough. I had an amazing divorce lawyer, Laura Wasser.
Oh, yes, famous, yep.
Yeah, she's incredible. And she came on the podcast and we talked about all of the conversations you need to have before you get married.
Values is number one. I mean,
Yeah, of
values.
course.
Did she say values?
Values, but we got as specific as what are we going to do with your mother when she's sick?
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I actually think that couples, before they get married, should sit across from each other with a piece of paper and a pen and not be able to see what the other person's writing. And they should both write down the number that is enough. The amount of money that's when they'll look at each other and say, we have enough. They should write it. They should fold the piece of paper in half, and then they should hand each other the piece of paper.
Oh, that's fun.
Because imagine if one was like $1 million and the other is like 10 billion. Everybody has a number in their head. No one likes to state it out loud because there's like a faint stink off of wanting too much or wanting too little. But I think couples should sit across from each other or sit across the room.
I'm going to do this tonight with my husband.
Do it tonight. Sit across, go to another room. So just write down the number, the true honest number. Don't try to hedge it. Don't try to fuzz around it. We have to have this conversation with each other. What is the number where you'll say, I got it, I don't need any more? And you should both do it, fold it in half, hand it to the other person in your privacy, open it up and look at it, and then have that conversation. That's a conversation you got to have. I mean, if you're already married, have it anyway, because that's a bridge you've got to build.
Yeah,
because
that's a good one.
That number in your head drives so many conversations and so many decisions. But why not just state the number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
All right. Well, we've decided how to solve all divorces by having this little numbers conversation. I love so much talking to you. You have so much knowledge. And there's when a loving, intimate relationship ends, I don't know. There's other hurts. There's the hurt of losing somebody. And part of that is, the pain of losing a romantic relationship. But when it ends and it's not that way, it's so bad you do anything to avoid it. And I do think the conversation we're having just around values, like as you said, that's what else is there, right? It is a way of kind of either anticipating what might go wrong or fixing what is already wrong, which is good work and work that we all have got to be paying attention to before it gets too late. I love talking to you. I cannot recommend your podcast enough. We met at Acme. It's binge worthy. It's addicting. So I'm really glad to have you here. And you have also, we met at Baby, which is now your whole new foray into talking about motherhood.
Yes.
So all the moms who are listening, we met at Baby. And then you do this food thing.
Yeah, that's just a fun thing on the side. I love to eat.
Yeah.
I love to eat. And we were just talking about how all these great restaurants are opening on the Upper East Side. So keep coming.
I know. A good restaurant is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So we can find you all different places. But the most wonderful thing is that we found you here this week. So thank you so much for being on. This has been Becoming You. Lindsey, thanks.
Thank you for having me.
And this show is produced by the amazing and fabulous Mikey Robley, Eliza Zinn, Issa Lampson, and Hallie Reiner. And if you liked what you heard, and I'm on my knees praying that you did, follow me at Suzy Welch across all my platforms, everywhere, Instagram and LinkedIn and even TikTok, although somehow TikTok doesn't seem to work for me. And don't forget to leave a rating and a review below, because a lot of people have, and I love you people who have. It's not all my children, because there's just too many of them. I will see you next time, and until then, keep becoming you.